Hello everyone, it's Joseph Dunphy here, and this is your weekly Grass10 grazing management update on the dairy edge. Pasture-based data for this week: the average farm cover is 788 kilos dry matter per hectare, and the cover per livestock unit is sitting at 214 kilos of dry matter per livestock unit. Growth is 69 and demand is 57. The diet currently being offered is 15 kilos of grass and 3.5 kilos of meal, and pre-grazing yield is sitting at 1525. Dry matter percentages that are recorded this week have bumped up again, with Moore Park at 20%, Oak Park at 23%, Johnstown Castle at 23%, and Athenry at 23%. The predicted grass growth, rainfall, and soil temperatures for the coming 7 days. Grass growth predictions are expected to be in the region of between 47 in some of the drier areas of the country, up as far as 72 or 73 in more northern parts of the country. Soil temperatures are going to be between 12 and 14 degrees, and unfortunately rainfall amounts are very low for the coming 7 days, with large parts of the country expecting no rainfall and less than 5 millimetres of rain expected for the southwest. The key messages in this week's Grass10 podcast are around balancing a surplus grass supply that's present now on Irish dairy farms with that low rainfall on this week's forecast. Growth rates, as we said, are currently in around 70 on dairy farms. And pasture-based figures inform us that most farms are in a surplus grass situation, greater than 200 kilos of dry matter per livestock unit, and pre-grazing yield is true strong at the minute at greater than 1500. From being out and about over the last week or 10 days, farmers are also guilty of underestimating pre-grazing yield, with this figure being greater than 2,000 kilos of dry matter per hectare on some farms walked recently. So it's very important to cut and weigh and take notice of dry matters, which are 22 to 23%, as we said already. We know that grazing covers are greater than 1500 will have a negative effect on animal performance, grass recovery, and cleanouts. And while farms are in a surplus grass position, we're also aware that many areas of the country escaped rain at the weekend, and particularly on drier farms in counties such as Carlow, Kildare, Kilkenny, parts of Cork, parts of Tipperary, soil moisture deficits are starting to affect growth rates. Paddocks under 600, 700 kilos of dry matter per hectare are the paddocks that are most affected on these farms at the minute. And there's a nice table in this week's Grass10 newsletter with the water availability infographic for your region. If growth rates are reducing on these farms to less than 50 kilos of dry matter per hectare, the plan now is to move to a 22 to a 25-day rotation. And it's vital to walk your farm twice per week or definitely every 5 days to investigate if your growth rates are starting to reduce. On farms that are growing less than 50, I will prioritise grazing covers of 15 to 1600 and maybe pre-mown 1 or 2 paddocks that are at 17 or 1800 if you're worried about cleanouts. However, some farms throughout the country are still growing very well at greater than 65 to 70 kilos of grass currently. So on these farms, skip covers greater than 1500, put them aside for a few days, see do you get rainfall, and you can mow them out early next week if rainfall is received. If you're unsure, keep them on the farm in case they're needed. It's also important to keep going with fertiliser as per rotation currently. Most farms above 170 kilos of N per hectare stocking rate should be applying 18 to 20 units per acre, so 22 to 25 kilos of a protected urea plus S type product. Assess clover contents before reducing N application. We require 20% or higher clover content. Greater than 20% clover paddocks should receive dairy washings after the next grazing. Last message on this week's podcast: it's important to walk your first cut silage this week and prepare to harvest. Many first cut crops of silage are now approaching optimum time for harvest. These crops have really filled out over the last 2 to 3 weeks with the sunshine. Crops will be ready approximately 1 week earlier, so if you have applied nitrogen in early April and you're a little bit worried, test silage for nitrates in your local Teagasc office and ensure a good wilt. Cutting silage before reaching heading dates will ensure high quality, high DMD silage that will help animals perform throughout next winter and spring 26. Your featured farmer in this week's podcast is Sean O'Sullivan from Crookstown in County Cork. Sean is milking 107 cows. The current diet is 17 kilos of grass and 3 kilos of meal. Milk yield is 28 litres at 4.4 fat and 3.6 protein. He's currently following the cows with 20 units per acre of a protected urea after grazing. Average farm cover is currently sitting at 619, growth of 57, demand of 59, cover per livestock unit 178, and the stocking rate is 3.47. The current management on Sean's farm He's taken out 4 paddocks over the last 2 weeks to try and get pre-grazing under control. It is currently in around 1,500 kilos at the minute. Paddocks under 600 kilos are slow to return, so he'll hold all the grass that he has now on the farm. He got 4 to 5 millimetres of rain over last weekend. However, he's going to walk again on the farm before Friday, and he might have to increase supplement and rotation length if growth starts to drop. If you would like to hear more from the Grass10 team, subscribe to the weekly Grass10 newsletter, which is available on the Grass10 page on the Teagasc public website, and the link to the newsletter is also available in the description of this podcast. We'd also like to thank the sponsors of the Grass10 campaign, AIB, Grass10 Agro, the Department of Agriculture, FBD and the Farmers Journal. This has been your Grass10 update, and I'll talk to you all next week.